The Los Angeles Clippers are now 2 years into the Paul George and Kawhi Leonard era and are yet to win a title, while Kawhi Leonard is set to be an unrestricted free agent, assuming he does go through and decline his player option this summer. So there are some real questions about the Clippers this summer moving forward with regards to how does this team make themselves a contender moving forward. Now, I will make it known very early in this video, I fully expect Kawhi Leonard to re-sign. I'm not falling into the fake rumors that he is going to leave. He went to LA for a reason, and this team is still one of the best teams in the league, and he will remain there in LA. But some of the pieces around Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are a big concern, and of course Kawhi Leonard is most likely going to miss all of, if not most of, next season now, after he had his knee injury in the playoffs. So there are some major concerns for the Clippers moving forward with Kawhi Leonard and with the depth on this team, and with this now being the second major injury of Kawhi's career and at age 30, there is no guarantee he does come back at the same level. And so we're going to talk about some of the free agency decisions that they're going to have to make this summer, how the team could change or potentially get worse because of that, and how they're going to fare next year with Kawhi Leonard out for most of, if not all of the season. With that being said, I am going to be doing a live stream Thursday night during the NBA draft, so be sure to tune in on Thursday night if you guys want to check out my live reaction to all of the trades and picks that go on during the draft. With that being said, let's get right into talking about the Clippers offseason. So here we are looking at the salaries for the Los Angeles Clippers here for the next few years. And here's the notable salary expiries going into this year's offseason. Of course, as we mentioned, Kawhi Leonard does have a player option. He will opt out of that for reports, but he will re-sign with LA. He wants to be in LA. He wants to be with the Clippers. And you could argue that the Clippers would have been the team that were the favorite to get out of the West had they not had the Kawhi Leonard injury, considering all the other injuries that were going on in the West. So this is still a competitive team, and if he can come back with a good amount of health after his injury rehab for most of the next season, the following year in the 2022-23 season, the Clippers are going to have a good run again at being able to be a top team in the West, a team that can be a competitive team and potentially a favorite out West in a Western Conference that may not have LeBron anymore, or a much weaker LeBron. Even if Chris Paul does re-sign with the Suns, who knows what Chris Paul will look like in 2 years. It's very much going to be a scenario where there could be a few teams that get weaker out West. And so the Clippers are still going to have a good shot at winning, and so Kawhi Leonard I would fully expect to re-sign. It's very unsure as to what Serge Ibaka will do. I would suspect he will opt into this, given the fact that he did have a lot of injury concerns last year, and so I don't think the market for him is going to be anywhere near where Ibaka is going to get next to the mid-level exception on any deal after he missed nearly all of last season. If he can get back healthy, he's still going to provide very valuable minutes for this Los Angeles Clippers team. His rim protection on the defensive end and his floor spacing and offensive ability that are on the three-point line and at the key, and some offensive rebounding putbacks down low. Not do a little bit of it all on the offensive end as far as shot making. I think he can definitely be valuable if he can stay healthy, and I would suspect he will opt in. But the three more interesting pieces are Patrick Patterson, but most notably Nick Batum and Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson being the most interesting of these, as Reggie Jackson was this year's version of Rajon Rondo for the team, for the Lakers the year previous, in the sense that Reggie Jackson just turned into a completely different player in the playoffs, and he's probably going to get paid, deservedly so, because of it. This guy turned into an absolute co-star, especially with Kawhi Leonard going out. They needed someone to step up, and Reggie Jackson was that guy, averaging over 17 points a night in the playoffs. Defensive effort is usually always there, but he was hitting some big three-point shots, driving to the rim, drawing fouls, creating for others off of the dribble and off of those drives. He was just, or what anyone would have hoped at the best of Reggie Jackson in his career. This is the best we've ever seen of Reggie Jackson, and it's at age 31. And of course it was a small showing and only for a bit in the playoffs, but he's definitely going to get a lot more than a minimum deal heading into the season. I would think him and the Clippers will be motivated on both ways to re-sign. Reggie Jackson could be the starting point guard for this team next year, and he is going to have that bigger role with Kawhi Leonard being out for next year. Patrick Beverley, last year of his contract. Rajon Rondo, last year of his contract. Expect them to move on from one, if not both of those guys. Patrick Beverley especially, given the fact that he's making $14.3 million, and the Los Angeles Clippers already have $148 million in committed spending next season. That is before a potential extension or re-signing of Patterson, Batum, and Reggie Jackson. 2, if not all of those, I would expect to be brought back. Nick Batum, you could probably bring back on a veteran's minimum or near minimum again, is someone that they brought in last year on a minimum after being bought out by Charlotte off of his very overly paid deal there. But is still a solid NBA player. He's not an elite player by any stretch. He's not a borderline all-star guy. He's probably not even a high-end starter anymore, but he can definitely come in and provide some good defensive minutes. He has good size and length and strength. He can guard the 3 or the 4 and offer you a bit of enough spacing on the offensive end that he can be a quality player for you off of the bench. Patrick Patterson doesn't really play all that much nowadays, and is definitely not at the level as he was in his peak with Toronto, but he can still offer a little bit of spacing, some corner 3-point shooting ability. And they may look to bring him back for some depth, given the fact that power forward isn't an overly deep spot for the Los Angeles Clippers. But they could decide to bring him back or bring in someone else. Either or, it's not going to be hard to replace that. And so the real question just is now for the Clippers, what do you expect next year? Because this is a team now that's going to be led by Paul George. Assuming they bring back Reggie Jackson, it's going to be Paul George, Reggie Jackson, and Marcus Morris that are going to have to lead the charge. And after that, the rest of the team really isn't up to par for having Kawhi Leonard out of the team. But we've seen some good seasons and good past performances by Paul George when he's had to pick up that slack. Of course, now a few years ago when he was with OKC, when he was a borderline MVP caliber guy and was in the MVP conversation, as well as before his gruesome injury when he was with Indiana. We've seen many good performances from Paul George. He is now at 31, but I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't see Paul George put out the type of performances next year that could render him back into the MVP type conversation. Not saying he's going to be a favorite, but he might be a top 5, top 6 guy for MVP candidacy next year, because he's going to have to be the guy for the Clippers, and I think he definitely can do that. But I don't think we can fool ourselves here and say that this is going to be a scenario where the Clippers are the top 3 seed in the Western Conference next year. I just don't think that's realistic. I think they're still going to be a playoff team. There's no doubt about that. But I think they're struggling for it a bit more. I wouldn't even be shocked to see them slipping in around the 7 or 8 seed in and around the play-in games, just surely due to the depth of talent within the Western Conference. You're looking at Utah being going to get Phoenix, the Lakers, Dallas. You still have the likes of Portland that are a bit more up in the air, but the Pelicans could be better, the Grizzlies could be better, Golden State are most certainly going to be better. There's a lot of teams, I've probably missed some in there, and are going to be good next season in the Western Conference. And without Kawhi Leonard, the Los Angeles Clippers are definitely going to fall down the table a bit and see themselves a bit closer to the play-in games. They'll get in, I don't doubt that, they will get in, but it might be as a 6 seed or a 7 seed, as opposed to a 2 seed or a 3 seed. But other than that, I think this Clippers team is still fine long term. If they don't bring back Reggie Jackson, I have a lot more concerns about this team next year. I have more concerns about them potentially not making the playoffs. And I have concerns about who's going to be the guys that can do things for them outside of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Marcus Morris is fine, and he can do some stuff. But I think they need someone else outside of that, because Luke Kennard's been very hit and miss. He's had some coach's decisions, DNPs, that having some good moments. He's been very hit and miss. Ibaka, of course, has been injured. Patrick Beverley just isn't as good anymore. Rajon Rondo isn't as good anymore. Ivan Zubac is fine, but nothing great. Terrence Mann, of course, has some potential, but we've seen some great performances from him, but not at a consistent level yet. If you can get more from him, that'd be great. But it's the surrounding pieces that I'm concerned about. If they can add some more high-quality depth on this team, I think this team still has a chance to win a title, which ultimately has to be the goal for the Clippers for all the assets they gave up to acquire Paul George, as was essentially a package to get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in both. There's still a chance, but they definitely have some moves to make to do so, and hopefully Kawhi Leonard can come back healthy as good as he was before his injury. That is my thoughts on the Los Angeles Clippers this summer and moving forward into the next few years of the Los Angeles Clippers team. Let me know what you guys think of the Los Angeles Clippers team moving forward down below, and how well you think they will or will not do next season with Kawhi Leonard out for the season. Again, I'm sure he will be back. I would not be too concerned if you're a Los Angeles Clippers fan. Even if he does opt out, as I think he will, I would not be too concerned about him leaving. He will opt out, he will re-sign, he'll get more term, get more money. I wouldn't be too concerned about that at all. Again, I just want to mention I will be live streaming during the draft here on this channel on Thursday night. So if you guys want to be here to check out the draft with me and my reaction to it, be sure to check that out. And if you do enjoy NBA content like this, then be sure to hit the subscribe button down below, as I will be keeping you guys up to date on all of the NBA offseason trades, drafts, and free agency signings throughout the next few weeks in what is the best time of the NBA schedule as far as the player movement and the chaos goes. So if you want all those up-to-minute updates, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Leave a like down below if you did enjoy the video. Thank you guys for the continued support here on the channel as we move forward to one of the busiest times of the NBA calendar. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I will have a few more videos out again tomorrow. Another What's Next video, off-season preview, along with a few other rumor videos. And then Thursday, of course, is draft night. We've got a lot of content coming up. Looking forward to it. You guys enjoy.